Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board for Wednesday, November 25th, 2024. Let the record show that this meeting was properly advertised and that all board members are present tonight. Tim Hudson is joining us remotely. And please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'd like to offer public comment at the beginning and ending of each meeting. We will offer public comment for our 2 action items tonight. So if there's no comments at the moment, we will go ahead and move to our first action item, which is the water supply and interlocal cooperation agreement between this board and the Department of Utilities for Indianapolis doing business as Citizens Water. And our legal counsel, Jeff Jacob, will address this item.
Thank you. Board, if you will recall, some months ago, the Utility Service Board approved this agreement absent one change and authorized Ed to sign on behalf of the board. What we discovered was a somewhat of a miss in the agreement where the funding on the infrastructure for Citizens was left out as a contingency, and Citizens was hesitant to sign until they received the until closing on their portion of the project. So in section 6.4, an amendment basically making a reciprocal or mutual contingency, financing contingency was with Citizens was added. So given that change, I felt it necessary to bring it back to the board with that change and re-vote on that issue, allowing Ed to execute the agreement. I do note that the agreement you have been provided has Citizens' signature on page 14.
So this is essentially the same, less what you've, or in addition to what you've added, just small changes, what we've already passed in prior meeting.
Correct, in section 6.4.
All right, questions, discussion on this citizens agreement? We'll take public comment if there is any. Yeah, we'd ask that you just come to the podium, please. Just state your name and address for the record. And
Jody Stewart. My question would be, when was this previous agreement agreed on that we are talking about with Citizens?
Oh. I believe it was 2 months ago, somewhere.
Estimate the last couple of months.
Yeah, within the last 45 to 60 days.
And who signed that contract?
So Citizens has signed it, and the utility board previously authorized the general manager of the utility to execute.
And the general manager is?
Me, Ed Baskell.
Okay. And so, Ed, are you the one that signed off on the remaining allocated water that we had available prior when Lilly closed, prior to the LEAP project starting? The remaining water that was available, are you the one that signed off and allocated the rest of our remaining water?
Answer that.
Because
so the agreement that we're referencing is the water supply agreement to bring additional water to Lebanon. That's the Citizens water supply agreement. The previous agreement was probably 18 or so months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And I think you're talking about a pre-allocation agreement with Eli Lilly and IEDC, and the utility board and city council approved that at that time.
Correct. So what I'm asking about is the remaining water that was available prior to the LEAP Phase 2 being passed. There was still water available. Who allocated our remaining water available so that we have no water
There's-
available right now?
Ma'am, there's no water that has gone into the LEAP district except for the pre-allocation and now usage of Eli Lilly and Company. There's been no other allocations that have gone into the LEAP district. All of the water that has been consumed since that time has been all within the corporate, other non-LEAP users.
Okay,
So that's just that, this was known to be in it when the water study was performed. It was not a secret that at some point, it was a matter of when the city of Lebanon, just like any other community, would tap out of the water and they would run out. We will likely run out again because it's a finite resource. The decision was made not to burden the ratepayers for allocating that secondary source on two separate occasions on studies on what that cost would be for not very much water. So when this opportunity came up, the utility board and city council took this opportunity to look at that secondary source allocation and not burden its existing non-LEAP ratepayers.
but you are. You are burdening the taxpayers.
This board is concerned with ratepayers. The taxpayers is a city council matter.
Okay, but you aren't concerned with the ratepayers because these loans are coming from taxpayer funds. So you're lying and you're telling us that our rates are not going to increase, but our taxes are. Am I correct in saying that, Mr. Jacobs?
So ma'am, if you're going to suggest that I'm lying to you in some fashion, I'm probably done addressing you. So
I'm sorry, I
appreciate-
didn't hear what you said.
If you're going to suggest that I'm lying in some fashion, I'm probably done addressing you. So appreciate your
Okay,
comments and
well then,
questions.
Mr. Jacobs, you did lie to me at the last meeting about the tort agreement, the tort claim that Mr. Whitsett has. Did you not?
Let's do it. We're here for these two items and we're going to go ahead and move with those. So we appreciate your comments thus far, but we are here for this citizens agreement tonight and we're going to go ahead and move with that.
Okay.
Any other comments that you have?
I'm saying that there are a lot of people that have opposed this.
Sure. And we get that.
We have been opposing this project since the beginning.
For sure. And that's noted. We know that. And like Mr. Jacob mentioned, ratepayers, utility ratepayers are our concern. We don't have control over taxpayers. That's a city council, which you can make your opinion known there. They meet tonight as well.
I'm going to. Thank
So,
you. I will be going there.
Okay.
So I guess you guys are not wanting to answer my question, and I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, discussion on this water supply agreement with citizens as noted by Mr. Jacob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
1 second, because Mr. Hudson is participating remotely, this needs to be roll call vote.
Okay. All right, we'll start. Do you want to call roll, Danny, or how do you want to do it?
I'll call roll.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah,
first?
we need to have a motion and then we can roll call, right? Okay, yeah, so we'll entertain a motion and then we'll do a roll.
I move to approve the water supply and interlocal cooperation agreement between the Board of Directors for the Utilities of the Department of the Public Utilities for the City of Indianapolis, DBA Citizens Water, and the City of Lebanon Utilities as amended.
Second. All right, motion made by Ann, seconded by Bill to approve this water supply agreement with Citizens and the City of Lebanon Utilities as amended. As Mr. Jacob mentioned, we will do a roll call for this vote, and Danny will call the roll for us.
Ann Patterson,
Aye.
Bill Stoner,
Aye.
Neil Taylor,
Aye.
Aaron Smith,
Yes.
Tim Hudson. Tim, you're muted.
Aye, sorry, was muted. All right, is that all we need for that? We good? Yes. All right. Okay, next action item tonight is the Project Domino Memorandum of Understanding. It's the Project Domino Water Supply and Wastewater Capacity Pre-Allocation Agreement. And again, Mr. Jacob will address this action item for us tonight.
Yes, thank you, Board. As you're aware, we have worked for some months on a pre-allocation agreement to secure a development within the LEAP district. This pre-allocation agreement is similar to what has been done in other situations. Obviously, this, however, is for future water. I would just note in the agreement a few things to, just a few notes. First, this is contingent upon citizens performing under the water supply agreement, which you just authorized. It's also contingent upon receiving the financing for the water and wastewater improvements through our agreements with IEDC and IFA. Then additionally, so in essence, what would happen is Lebanon Utilities would receive a deposit for the future allocated water. It would designate that as allocated, and then they would, once the water is available, they would collect the availability fees from that user. One item to note is that the financing package that you have seen in the calculations from Baker Tilly include this assumption that that this project would proceed. So in that regard, so these are, as we're all aware, these are very interrelated. I would note that we talked about the nuts and bolts of this agreement at the last working session. There's obviously been revisions to that agreement, but I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments for Jeff on this pre-allocation agreement?
I have some. Is it correct that Orla wants water and wastewater pre-allocations for Project Domino before plats or development plans are approved by our city planning department and Lebanon Plan Commission?
That is correct. The ordinances do allow for the utility board and city council to enter into these pre-allocation agreements before that plan approval occurs.
Do you know of any other developers who have received this exception to our procedures meant to ensure orderly development and efficient infrastructure planning in and around our city?
Yes, sir.
Who are those?
So IEDC for Eli Lilly and Company, and then Card and Associates related to the field house. The utility board and city council approved both of those agreements. There was a distinction in that those were agreements for allocatable water. This is for future water that will be allocatable once received, and hence the contingencies that I outlined.
Thank you. Is it correct that Orla wants to pay just 10% of the total anticipated availability fees up front in return for having the city pre-allocate to Project Domino all its needed water supply and wastewater treatment capacity?
Yes, the deposit process was really a a methodology that was born out of my office's discussion and with utility board staff and professionals. And the decision was made to allow for just a small deposit up front, and then once the water becomes available, or whatever our trigger point is, that they would have 30 days to pay the full availability fee.
Can any other citizens or developers likewise secure their water and wastewater needs through pre-allocation by paying just 10% of the total anticipated availability fees?
Yes, I would expect, subject to utility board and city council approval, I would anticipate once we get closer to closing on the financing, that we will present this agreement to many of the shelved projects that have been received some degree of approval within the city.
Thank you. Is it correct that Orla wants data and information related to Project Domino's actual or projected consumption or usage of our water supply system and wastewater system capacity to be deemed confidential business information that must be redacted from public records requests?
So yes, in part, some of that strategic or confidential data, they have indicated that they would like that redacted. The process would be that if there was a public records request, we would notify them of that request, and then they would either consent to it, or we would have to address that in some other forum on what that disclosure would look like.
Can any other of our existing or potential customers refuse to let us respond to a public records request about their water consumption and wastewater capacity usage in the interest of making certain that allocations are properly made and not overextended?
So if we were to enter into a pre-allocation agreement on a strategic economic development project, that may be the case, or really any user for that matter, if that was a provision that was justified to the utility board and city council for that matter, that provision could be added. Now, there are things like, as you adeptly pointed out, the IDEM permits, things like that, where there'll be numbers that will be available, and there will be a vehicle to obtain that, or a opportunity to discuss the disclosure of that information, whether that's appropriate or not, through that public records request.
Thank you for answering these questions.
Sir, anytime.
I actually have a question as well. Just to go back to, you referenced the shelved projects, which I assume are existing either customers or future customers that are waiting for allocation. And I just want to make sure that we are clear in this forum that this pre-allocation is not going to affect these other shelved projects' ability to obtain a portion of the water that we just agreed to with citizens.
Understood. Thank you for that question. So the discussions that I believe the mayor's office and Mr. Ottinger and Mr. Leitner from Butler, Fairman, and Seifert have had with the development community, and I've had with one user, to be future user in a different location, have been to be realistic in their phasing requests. So in other words, they are wanting, if somebody wants to buy all of the capacity, this only works if everybody is reasonable in their phasing. So to answer your question, yes, that has been accounted for. All of the numbers that I have seen with Mr. Ottinger and Mr. Leitner indicate that we can accommodate that, those reasonable phasings for January 2027 and then 2028 for the shelved projects. So is that, Ryan, would you, you're more familiar with those numbers than I am, but that's my understanding.
And yeah, that's a great question. So yes, we have kind of broken down the paused or shelved projects by phases. You know, if for an example, just for easy numbers, if a development wants 100 homes, we know that they're not going to build 100 in 1 year. So we're asking with due diligence from the mayor's office for them to break that down to where we can facilitate the beginning of their development, work on infrastructure. They can build future infrastructure, knowing that in 27 we get 2 million gallons of water peak, but then in 28 we get additional water, so they can work the phasing out internally to where they're not waiting to the very last minute. They can go ahead and get things started. They can get homes up, get homes sold, and then as we receive more water, then we can allocate to the developments in the future to make sure that they're on a pace to where they're able to move forward, but one development's not going to take the whole lump sum, and then the shelf developments, the other ones are still in a waiting process. We're trying to make it to where everyone can get started. The larger developments won't be able to allocate all the water, but they won't be able to build a large development in 1 year anyway. It's going to be a multi-year phase, so we will phase in the allocation also.
Okay, and so my understanding from Mr. Smith's previous questions was all of these negotiations that you're doing with potential users are going to be the subject of similar type pre-allocation MOUs? Or
That's correct. So
Yes.
any sort of agreement like that for the shelved projects or any future user on a pre-allocation basis would be done by an agreement approved by this board and the city council.
thank you.
And to that note, just real quick, that will also be allow us to track the EDUs that we are allocating to make sure that everybody, if a pre-allocation agreement is in place, that the EDUs that have been signed off on will be available. So with the pre-allocation agreements, we'll be able to track that internally to make sure that what is paid for, what is allocated will be available when the developer needs it.
I guess I should add that we wouldn't be contemplating pre-allocation agreements if we didn't have this deal in place where we're floating bonds that depend on the domino pre-allocation. So it's actually enabling us to help these people that are on the pre-allocation list. And one question, I think I know the answer to it, but Jeff, if I were a private citizen and I were asking, and I were to call the utility and ask what Bill Stoner's water usage is, because I think maybe he's using too much water, what would you tell me?
So utility bills are held in confidence for customers. So, Mr. Stoner's electric consumption, for example, and his bill is generally not disclosed. Now, there are times when we review allocations and discuss large quantity. And so quantity issues for large users, but the specifics of utility bills are confidential. So,
Well, thank you. And I don't really have any interest. I was just using Mr. Stoner's bills as an example. I'm just saying that it's typical for us to keep a customer's usage confidential.
All right. Questions, comments, discussion on anything additional?
Let's see, so we anticipate more of these pre-allocation agreements?
Yes, I would anticipate for every shelved project that we would come back to the utility board, that the opportunity to pay a deposit on the future water allocation, and then detailing the payment availability fee would be offered to any project that the city has gone through an approval with. understanding that, part of this project gets us there in terms of being able to secure the financing. That's part of the assumption that has occurred, so.
So
That's why this is being, I guess my point is, that's why this is the first in that series.
So would we have to notify the people that are on the shelf?
We would work with the city and the city planning department. Once we get further along towards closing on the financing of this, then yes, we would work with the city to reach out and provide similar conceptual pre-allocation agreements to those users.
Okay.
So I do have one edit to the document in section 24. It currently reads, for the avoidance of doubt, data and information related to Orla's actual or projected consumption or usage. I would propose that we delete Orla's projected consumption or usage, therefore striking through actual or in that section. And board, I apologize. I know that you know that we've.
So I'm not following you, so I'm looking at 24. Go ahead.
So last full sentence.
On this, let's see, just a second. Okay, go ahead.
Last full sentence, for the avoidance of doubt, data and information related to Orla's actual or projected consumption. Strike.
Just a second, I'm not there yet. So you're talking about item number 24,
Yes, sir.
and
May I show you? Proposed amendment to that language is to remove actual or. So it would then just be them wanting to keep projected future use confidential on their phasing, their actual phasing. So I would, with that amendment, I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions, comments?
I'd like to,
Yep.
well, I want to explain my vote if there is a motion and second made. I would wish to explain my vote.
We'll probably have to do a roll on this as well. Danny, is that right? Okay, so we'll go ahead and offer public comment on this specific pre-allocation agreement if there is any.
Do I need to state my name again?
Just state your name again, please.
Jody Stewart. I believe it was a question that Mr. Smith asked, and it was about the allocations in the city, or it would have to go in a vote for the city. Are you saying that the IEDC is going to have control of the water?
Ma'am, I'm not following what you're asking. I don't know what you're saying.
Mr. Smith asked a question about allocations, and it would have to go to the city. Something about the amount of water they were going to want to use. Well, I guess what I'm asking is, once this is approved, does the IEDC have control of the allocations of this water?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, other questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion subject to approval by the Lebanon City Council to move to approve Project Domino Water Supply and Wastewater Capacity Pre-Allocation Memorandum of Understanding with changes as noted in item 24.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann, to approve this Project Domino Water Supply and Wastewater Capacity Pre-Allocation Memorandum of Understanding. Any additional questions, discussion?
I wish to explain my vote.
Okay.
It is stated that Orla's desire for special treatment is justified because Project Domino is considered a strategic development within the LEAP district. The guiding ethos of Lebanon Utilities is neighbor serving neighbor. My decision to approve the special treatment sought by Orla is whether or not I think Orla will be a suitable neighbor. Orla is a Delaware limited liability company. Delaware offers a high level of privacy protection for LLC owners. The names and addresses of LLC members and managers are not disclosed in formation documents, so ownership information is not publicly available. I do not know who will be the actual owner of Project Domino. I do not know the reputation of this actual owner when it comes to business ethics or commitment to the communities where it operates. I know precious little about Project Domino. It has been confirmed that it is a data center to be located in the LEAP District's industrial mega site of 1,500 acres. This industrial mega site is remarkably large, extending north of Indiana 32, generally south of County Road 250 North, and bounded by County Road 250 West and halfway between County Roads 400 West and 500 West. I know no actual details of the data center operation, other than the requirements that it wants to keep secret regarding the huge water and wastewater needs. It also appears that data centers require a huge amount of electricity to operate. I do not have near enough information to determine if Orla and his Project Domino will be a suitable neighbor. Therefore, I cannot support the special treatment that Orla seeks in the pre-allocation agreement. I do sincerely hope that the actual owner of Project Domino turns out to be a suitable neighbor should others decide to approve the pre-allocation agreement.
Thank you, Aaron. Other questions, comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. Danny, you want to make roll call, please?
Ken Patterson. Aye. Bill Stoner.
Aye.
Neil Taylor.
Aye.
Aaron Smith.
No,
Tim Hudson.
All right. Thank you for that. Next item is the other business tonight. Anyone from the board have other business? Ryan, you have some other business?
I didn't want to be left out without having anything on the agenda, so I thought I would just had a quick comment. We are currently in the middle of our lead and copper line identifications for the private side of homeowners. Some people have received, if your private service line is unknown or the date of install is unknown, we have sent out a mailer that has a QR code that you can scan and fill out the survey. If you don't know or would rather utilities to come out and verify, we can do that. There's a number listed on the survey that they can call our office, and we have a ongoing list, and we have crews out, weather permitting, every day verifying, and we will let the homeowner know what the verification is, and then the next process. This is the next step in the new lead and copper rules from IDEM and EPA. So just wanted to let everybody know that we've had a great response so far. Keeping the crew busy and keeping Matt Hutton busy answering the phone, but we have an ongoing list, and we will get to your home as time provides. But just wanted to keep putting that out there that we do need those surveys filled out. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to give us a call.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate
Thanks.
that. Anything else from the board? Anything else at all? Okay, looks like our next meeting is Wednesday, December 4th. Wednesday, December 4th, 5 p.m. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.